So now let's get into which concert do we feel had the strongest cast. Now, Joe, you had a great idea of casting a dream version, because I think you and I have both talked extensively about how each of these have different concerts, have different people that stand out, and sort of them kind of fit their own time and place.
Yeah.
So rehashing once again, the 10th is the strongest vocal one, but the stage concert may have the strongest acting one. So let's go through and let's hash this out. And if we were dream casting this based on the 3 concerts, who we would want from each.
Like a football draft kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right. So we have to... we're doing that first. We'll do our own person.
Let's do that.
Cast.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do it that way, just because, as I said, we've kind of talked about the strongest cast in other ways. I think people have heard us harp that point enough. So, Jill, let's go through first. Tell me, if you were casting this based on the 3 companies, how would you break it down?
I will also say, because I still think we haven't given as much love to the 25th anniversary. That was my favorite cast overall, I will say.
Really?
Chemistry, connection-wise. I don't know why, but it was my favorite overall cast. So that's that. Okay, so
break it down, Joe.
Have my list. So drum roll, please. No. Okay, so my Javert would be Norm Lewis.
Okay.
From the 25th anniversary. My Cosette would be Katie Hall. I just really, again, all of these characters, we're pretty much going through just the titular ones, right?
Yes. We're not going to cast the factory. We could cast Factory Foreman and Factory Girl if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
But let's just stick with we'll go all the way down to Grantier and the Bishop.
Right.
Because those are kind of the real big casts.
Great. So again, sorry, just to preface, none of these were terrible. I hated it. Okay. I'll say who I've chosen and just give a tidbit of information as to maybe why over the others. Okay. So Norm Lewis, I've already chatted about his consonants, his acting. Grit was just yes. Cosette for me, Katie Hall in the 25th anniversary. She just had voice of a bell. Her look, her movement was so swift, but yet still had that biological gall in her that comes from Fantine, right? I think so often because of the passage of time, you separate little Cosette to old Cosette, and I remember in playing adult Cosette, using Fantine's story, even though I would have never met her, having some of her flare out in adult Cosette, because it's her mother, right? So Katie Hall packed a bit of a punch when it needed to be packed too. Because I think too often Cosette is played as this feathery, angelic ingenue, when she has grit in her, right? So so Katie Hall. Fantine, the original, Ruthie Henshaw, I think is just stunning, and her technique is impeccable. Pulled from her pelvis, those notes, and I'm just yes. Enjolras, Bradley Jaden. The fact that this world right now is blessed with Bradley Jaden, if you are listening, which you probably never will be, he is so talented, magical, just so crisp and really played to the character, in my opinion. This one was hard though, because I really did love all the Enjolras a lot. Okay. Thénardier, the original. Alan Armstrong. Yeah. He just had the vindictiveness as well as the comedy. He had more dark to him.
He would shank you in the alley if he wanted to.
And then literally laugh in your
something
face.
In that scene.
You know?
Yes.
There's that, he had that switch, which I'm whew, yeah. Madame Thénardier, Jenny Galloway. She just...
Which version, though? The 10th or 25th version of Jenny Galloway? Because her two Madame Thénardiers are very different.
The 10th. Because I think a lot of that, it's the chemistry between her and Alan Armstrong that really played it out. And it was more playful too. And again, her, Madame Thenardier, in the 10th anniversary, in my opinion, was more vindictive because he was. Like, you know, where again, Matt Lucas, so phenomenal as well, but the more comedic side of Thenardier was played upon. And so she kind of bled into that too. Yeah. Okay, and then Eponine, Samantha Parks. I've said it once. I will say it till the day I die. Stunning, magical. Like that is Eponine. It's just yes. Okay. Marius, our staged concert. Rob Houchin. I apologize if I am pronouncing it improperly. He finally. I'm like, we have like the aesthetic and the personality of Marius, right? Because again, he's young. He has to be like heartthrobby, dweeby. Like he kind of can get away with being like the dweebier. Him and
he's a Romeo,
Enjolras, right? Yeah. Exactly.
He's a Romeo.
But his empty chairs at empty tables, like the despair. Again, there was that switch. He had that switch of like living in a mist of love to like all of my friends have passed and I'm still here. Like there was that like whoo. So that's that one. My Gavroche was Logan Clark, the staged concert.
Little ginger kid.
Yeah, so I love this one. Okay, so Enjolras was second to this. This one was the hardest for me to choose because I loved all the Enjolras, but they were all played very different. Like the 25th anniversary one was so mature and very smart. Which Gavroche absolutely can be. The 10th anniversary was kind of a mixture of like innocence and also like a he chose when to be smart or when to be mature. And then but Logan Clark is just like, you know, he is going to be like the Enjolras, right? But like he's like a slow build. Like you're seeing I want there to be like an after story if Gavroche lived of Logan Clark's Gavroche because I think that's what made it even more painful is that there was still so much to know about him. Like he was still like, I'm rough and tumble and I'm here for it, but like I'm still a kid. The others were like, I'm a kid and I'm here, right? Whereas like he's just like, I'm still figuring it out, and then he gets shot and you're like, oh my gosh. So a little bit more of the innocence and like unknown of the world was present in Logan's performance, and that's what really sold me. Sorry, this football draft thing is going to be like an episode in itself. Little Cosette. I want to say Ellie Schenker, our last one. I think she
was the most robotic to me. Just that like military turn she does when Madame Thenardier shows up. It's like so rigid.
Yeah, but I think little Cosette can have that because she like doesn't. She really has had no direction aside from instruction in her life, right? Like everything's been like, here's your list, do it. So they're really, to me, I'd like to believe until she meets Jean Valjean, like she's not really had the opportunity to be a person. She's kind of been robotic, right? She's just like doing what she needs to do to survive. And a lot of that came from just falling in line and following instruction. But I think what really sold me is her pure innocence, which again, I think should ripple into Cosette. But, you know, Cosette being on the precipice of becoming an adult, that's where I stand by, like, bleed in some of Fantine's grit. But, her just with Ellie's take on Castle in a Cloud, it was just like a bell, and that again stroke of innocence that we kind of get across the whole canvas before it all goes to shit, right? Yeah. Oh, that's my swear word for the night. So there you go. Okay, so my bishop is Earl Carpenter in the staged concert. And
Agreed.
Mac actually had to remind me that it was the same actor for the 25th and the stage concert, because it was done, in my opinion, like so different. Yeah, in the staged concert, I preferred him because he was hitting everything and acting everything through, and interacting more, and a lot of that probably had to do with like the staging allowing that. But in the 25th anniversary, I felt he was back phrasing a lot and not on purpose. And then I find
and Joe, what is back phrasing for people who don't know what back phrasing is?
Right.
So people can
so
quickly understand what you're talking about.
Sure. So back phrasing, this is probably a very broad definition. But it's a choice that like the singer makes to either sing before the tempo or after the tempo. It's done a lot in like jazz quality of voice, but it really does have to be a choice. And if you don't want to be a dick and make your conductor's life a living hell, it is amazing to have conversation with the conductor and let them know of the choices that you are doing the back phrasing, so that if you're hitting something before, they're not wanting to catch up to you, or if you're
like
hitting
Phil
something
Kloss talks about.
Yes. Or if you're hitting something after, then they're not like, who the F is this artist, like not able to hit the mark in music. But like, that's why I try to avoid it as much as possible as a performer myself, because I know it can be, if you don't have that conversation with the conductor, like such a conductor's headache. And I just like, as much, my musical directors are like my favorite people on the stage once the show opens, because they are the glue on stage, right? Stage managers also my favorite, but they're the kind of the glue off stage. But
yes.
So yeah, so a lot of artists though will just back phrase because they feel entitled to do it, or they just, that's the choice they're making, but you know it's not embedded in like a plotted out choice. Yeah. Philip Kwass example of like waiting, that Dominion, right? I can't remember if it was saying it before or after. It was before, right?
It's after because he rushes ahead with the to hold Dominion, to hold Dominion, to hold and then Dominion. He has to think the word
right. So to hold, the music is playing Dominion, and then you're like, oh, that's a choice. Whereas opposed to if you're just always doing it, then it's like, do you know? Are you reading the music properly?
Yes.
So Earl Carpenter did a lot of it as the bishop. Some of it was probably, in the 25th was probably choice, but it just was a bit like too much for me. Like that's another thing of like doing too much back phrasing is an absolute real thing. But yeah, so Earl Carpenter in the stage concert is my bishop. And then my grand terre, half an hour later, is Raymond Walsh. And again, I loved...
From the stage concert.
From the stage concert, yes. Loved all of them. Very different. Choices were very different. But it all comes down to the staging of him trust falling Gavroche. I just... And I think there was a little bit more of like selflessness in his grand terre than the others, which is interesting because that character to me,
it's a blowhard character, exactly,
and can
it's very Mercutio.
Yes, rules the stage in more ways than he's even aware of. But the fact that he still did that, Raymond Walsh, and then was very like selfless, and that's like physically seen in the picking up of Gavroche. Is that extra layer? It's that extra layer of acting that sells. It sells me. It gets me. So.
And who is your Valjean? Yes. Who your Valjean is yet?
My Valjean is Elfie Beau. I know that we will completely disagree. And again, it comes down to, and I want to say the staged concert. So different. It behooves me that both the 25th and the stage concert were directed by the same folks, because the direction is so different, which, I mean, that can happen. But I found the choices Elfie made in the 25th anniversary were so strong. And to me, just like, again, he wasn't just singing the pieces, he was feeling them. Like, he was in the mud with it. And then with the staged concert, it's almost like when they opened the playground for people to invade other actors' spaces and block themselves in each other's spaces, Alfie was like, well, this is gonna open a whole nother darker side of Jean Valjean that the other version didn't allow me to capture.
And it should be said, like, when Alfie did the 25th, they briefly brought him to do the West End show before doing the concert. But now that it's been almost a decade since he's played Valjean, and he's played it in the West End, he was a Broadway replacement when the Broadway revival, and he's just having more time with the score and with the character, and you can tell that he understands Valjean a bit better.
And what I love about, at least from what I've read, his playbill when it comes to like theater Broadway stuff is quite short, because if I'm understanding correctly, he's a tenor. He's primarily a vocal artist.
He's an opera.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that was astonishing to me, because I'm like, this is an exception. This is someone who isn't bred in the medium of Broadway or live theater, but you can tell this is where I go back to my mantra every time on these reviews of like, it pays to be a human first before the artist. Like, you're a human before you're an artist. And like, what I can say to Alfie, never met him, I would be completely honored and blessed to ever meet him in my life. You can tell that he is a magical person. He is a humble person. He's just like a great, I mean, I hope my sources aren't wrong, but I hope there's sources that I hope there aren't sources that are going to prove this wrong, but to me, he just exudes that humility and light and passion as a person. And then it's almost like that just bulldozes over any sort of like acting experience that you would need, right? Just taps into Jean Valjean using the characteristics of what it is to be in those shoes as a human.
Yeah.
So I really had to bolster him up, because I know you were not going to choose Elfie, but Elfie, if Mac and I have like another episode where it's just us debating the Jean Valjeans, which will probably be like a 4-hour episode, just know I'm in your corner. Yeah. So that was a long-winded answer. I'm all over the map, as you see. Yeah. Mac, how about you? What's your roster?
Oh, well, okay. So I'll go as quickly as I can through this, because I know we're hitting the 2-hour mark soon. Okay. So I'll start back to front, just because I'll go that way. So I agree with you. Bishop-wise, you gotta go with Earl Carpenter's stage concert. I love the 10th anniversary, but he is way too freaking rigid. Like, there is no emotion in that face. But yes, Earl Carpenter stage concert, Bishop, beautiful. Right. I also will say Michael McCarthy and Jackie Marks for Factory Girl and Factory Foreman. Out of all three concerts, they were the strongest pairing of villains for that.
They are the stage concert ones, right?
10th anniversary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jackie Marks was the original Factory Girl, and Michael McCarthy has been Javert for a long time. I saw him as Javert when I was in the West End. Beautiful man. Beautiful Javert. I'll show you clips later. But, yeah, those two, fantastic. Like, the venom that Jackie Marks gives as the Factory Woman, the fact that her outfit is that much sultrier with the off-the-shoulder shirt and the very pronounced bosoms, like she, in the way she did her physicality of even staying in front of the mic with the hands on the hips, she just has that bitchy personality where it's like, I can totally see you would be the Karen of the Factory that would go after Fontaine.
The Karen.
You are Karen. and that gorgeous Michael McCarthy factory foreman mustache. He exudes male machismo and that awful, like that male privilege of. You can totally see him being handsy with the factory women.
Yeah.
There's just some, like, he has that mask, and the fact that his shirt's open, very hairy chest, like, it's just like, you're a total slime ball. I can totally see you being that guy in the back room with the girls.
Yeah.
So yes, minor characters like them. Yes. I will agree with you with the stage concert for Garrosh, as well with Logan Clark. God give a shout out to my gingers. Like, he is like such a beautiful, puckish Garrosh. And he's the one we get the most connection with throughout the entire show. The other two are great, but they're so sparse throughout the show because they're like big death scenes being cut and a lot of their little people stuff is reduced. This is the most we've seen of Garrosh track to date, and because that you get the most connection with his particular Garrosh. For Grantaire, Garrosh's buddy, I will say I'm going to go with, from the 10th anniversary, Anthony Crivello, the original Broadway Grantaire, his solo in Drink With Me, where you can tell he's holding back tears when he's doing that. Do you fear to die? Mm-hmm. Will the world remember you when you fall? Does your death mean nothing at all? The pain in that line, and the fact that he has been so blowhardy throughout the piece, and then he has that human realization of, shit.
Yep.
I'm about to die on the barricade. What's my life really meant?
Mm-hmm.
It's such a sobering moment for him, and I think that's the
good
reason
word
why,
to use, because he's
right
been at the bottle sobering moment. Yeah,
exactly. And he's the only Grantaire that gets a solo bow at the 10th anniversary. All the other Grantaires don't get to do a solo bow. He's the only one that got to do it, and he absolutely deserved that. In fact, he also got to sit up with Michael Maguire in the front bit of chairs, not in the behind chairs. Shows you just how close and how selectively he was picked for that part. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Next is my Enjolras, and I'm going to give a Canadian shout out to Ramin Karimloo, who has played Valjean, and he's also played Enjolras. And I actually did see him as Enjolras in the West End as well, way back in the day in 2006. And oh my goodness, he just he exudes that charismatic leader, even with all that eyeliner he's given, which is like, who is the makeup person for this, honestly? But just the way he comes out, and the fact that he's so brotherly to Nick Jonas, who you can tell is struggling. And Ramin, who's played Marius, is just so there. And the fact that he has such great interactions with Hadley Fraser as Grantaire as well, like during the Drink With Me, when Grantaire turns to go and you have the two of them kind of locking arms together. Mm-hmm. That brother thing. You can really tell he is the leader of the students. And I love Bradley Jaden, I think is who it is in the stage concert, right?
Yes.
It's the man bun. I can't get over the damn man bun. It's too modern. I'm like, no, if anything, give him sideburns and tie it back in a ponytail. Give him kind of like the Javert look.
Right.
Not a man bun. Man buns were not 1800s France. It just takes me out of it so much. Beautiful voice, but I'm like, no. Sorry, man bun. I just want to take scissors to that hair right now and just chop them.
But know that he's playing Javert, and that he will probably not have that hairdo. And
yes. Well,
we
yeah,
get to be blessed with
that.
Exactly. We get to be blessed with his stunningness. Again, using the word stunning.
But yes, definitely Ramin Karimloo as Enjolras. Then we have Eponine. I agree with you. Samantha Barks. Strongest acting, I think, for all the Eponines. I do love Lea Salonga. Her Little Fall of Rain, heartbreaking. Her harmonies with Ruthie Henshaw at the end, stunning.
Yeah.
So vocally, I would go with Lea Salonga, but acting choice-wise, even when she has not a great scene partner like Nick Jonas, not a fault of Nick Jonas, just not trained to act alongside her, she gives a stellar performance.
Yeah. Yes.
So definitely Samantha Barks as Eponine. Who else do I have? Marius. I agree with you with Rob Houghton. Or sorry, Houghton? Houghton? Both Houghton. Yep. Whatever. Sorry,
apologize, Rob.
Yeah. Just because I love Michael Ball, but unfortunately he's too old for the part by the time you get to the 10th anniversary, which is what we're basing this on. I mean, you look at Michael Ball back in the day when he was in his early 20s when he started the role, he looks perfect for the part.
Oh, I disagree. Sorry, I thought he looked way too.
No. I'm saying now in the 10th anniversary, because it's a decade on. He's almost now close to 30 by this point, I think. Way too old to play Marius. So for me, that's my problem, and that's why I like Rob Houchen more, is because it's wise. I see what yes, okay. Like Michael Ball back in the day with his vocals, nothing beats Michael Ball. The way he sings the "My place is here, I fight with you,"
right,
ringing a bell. It is like, and the fact they had him try and hit those notes again at the finale, and if you watched the bootleg of the night before where he missed the note and made Alfie Boe break down with laughter when they were trying to sing. Fantastic. I mean, him and Alfie have a great chemistry.
Yeah.
Off screen, like you watch, they have their own concert. They do the two of them together, and they're best buddies. You can tell, they're best buddies off stage. But yeah, Rob Houchen as Marius, simply for the fact that, as you said, great transition of acting, and also he's just the right age for the part.
Yes. Yeah.
For my Cosette, I'm going to go with Judy Kuhn, the original Broadway Cosette. I mean, nothing beats her voice. And Cosette, because she's so limited in her stage time, the voice is what sells Cosette more than anything in her story, because not much there, unfortunately. I mean, she shows up at the end of Act 1, then she's gone for 2/3 of Act 2, and then shows up at the end of Act 2. So the fact that Judy Kuhn's voice is just so beautiful, and yet there still is pain in her when she's singing the beginning of "There are so many questions and answers that somehow seem wrong." Like just that type of thing, or her everyday stuff where she's singing with Marius.
Yeah.
Like just butter. Judy Kuhn's voice is butter. It's so mature, but yet still so youthful and angelic at the same time. There's just a beautiful mix of that. So good. And I will say, for young Cosette, I'm actually going to go with Anna Chick from the 10th, because her and Judy Kuhn are the best pairing I've seen of young and old Cosette. Both visually and vocally, they match each other really well, where I could draw a line of growth between the two and go, I can see where Hannah Chick would become Judy Kuhn eventually.
Do you know what's really cute? Sorry, just to briefly interject. That happened with me, and we double casted our little Cosettes, but one of them looked like, I literally looked like her when I was a little girl. I'll have to show you offhand, but
yes.
And it's funny, she now in her high school performance played adult Cosette too. So like she did the evolution, but like she was my mini me. I'll show you a picture later, but it's funny. Yeah,
I definitely need to see this.
Yeah,
but yeah, Hannah Chick is the perfect mini me to Judy Kuhn, and I think that was the best of that type of casting, because it always bumps me whenever they do a young Cosette, when like sometimes you just can't help it because you're double casting, and now that a lot of times Eponine is played by a BIPOC actress, so you do need to do a little bit of BIPOC casting for young Cosette too, and there's just some of that weird way of you can't always match it up perfectly. I'd say all through concerts, though, this is the closest where I can track visually from one to the other out of all of them. So definitely Hannah Chick, and also the fact just her composure on stage when turns out it was a balloon that pops during her song.
Wow.
And it makes her jump, but she doesn't miss a beat in the music. She stays in it. And I just go, stellar. I mean, Duet hasn't done much else since the concert. Don't know what you're up to, Hannah Chick. If you want to reach out to us. Happy to talk to you.
Yeah.
But yes, Hannah Chick as young Cosette. Then the Thenardiers, I agree with you. Jenny Galloway and Eileen Armstrong. They are the perfect Thenardiers. Matt Lucas, I love you, but you're just way too freaking comical in the character. I don't get a sense of danger from you. Eileen Armstrong, that beautiful sneer he does during Master of the House when he's talking about God doing friends a favor, doesn't cost me to be nice. Watch his face and doesn't cost me to be nice, but nothing gets you nothing. Everything has a price. That phrase in his face, it's rat-like.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, like it just sends creeps, in the fact that, not to besmirch Alan Armstrong's face, but he has that beggar face, that kind of pockmarked, weathered face that someone like of his class would have back then. And it's just the balance he plays in that, and the fact that he didn't rely on the tropes of that character, like the messing up of the name of Cosette during the waltz the waltz of treachery, or ad libs. He was still able to be funny, like the fact that when he comes out for beggars at the feast, he falls, and loses his footing, and yet he's able to get right back up. And yet during the here comes a prince, there goes a Jew, like there still is that wonderful side sneer to that character of mocking the upper class of like, look who I'm with here. Like, this guy's a queer, and like, what can you do? Like, it is what it is. But there's just that beautiful sneer to him. It's like I could totally see you in the sewer, pulling teeth out of somebody for the gold.
Yeah,
he's terrifying. And Jenny Galloway in the 10th, she's terrifying as well. She was scary to me as a kid. Like when she comes out for her first bit of at the end of Castle on the Cloud, when she's doing the well, look who's here, and the fact that like in the book she's described as an ogress with red hair.
Yeah,
that's how they describe Madame Thénardier in the book. And Jenny Galloway in the 10th just exudes that with that the fact that when she does the big breathe in right before the we never should have taken him in the first place. So stupid the things we do.
Yes.
Like, but she does that big inhale and she just fills herself up.
Yeah.
And the fact that the hair is so big too, she just looks massive. Also, she has that wonderful mole on her face, which is a real beauty mark that Jenny Galloway has. That's not a makeup.
Oh, no. Okay, cool.
And it's beautiful. Like Jenny, it so fits the character. Great. And just once again, the facial expressions she does, like the sneer she gives to Cosette during the Waltz of Treachery. It's you'll miss it, you'll blink and you'll miss it, but it's there. And the gleefulness she has at the end with the beggars at the feast when she joins Alan Armstrong at the end.
Yes.
And they're gleefully singing about we're still there. Like we know where the wind is blowing. You can almost smell them smelling the money.
Yes.
It's so good. And she rocks that beautiful ball gown.
Yeah.
At the end. That I love that gown. I hate the new 25th gown, that purple feather gown they have her wear. It looks so cheap. That original gown was I still look at it and I study it for the amount of color and fabric work that gets done to make that beautiful clown dress she wears. But yes, Jenny Galloway, Alan Armstrong as the Thénardiers, 10th anniversary, by far the best. Ruthie Henshaw, Fantine. I mean, the range of her character in this performance. Once again, voice so angelic, but the way she sings. But he was gone when autumn came. In fact, she growls, and her voice cracks at that moment. You can tell she is breaking.
Yep.
She's having the breakdown on stage.
Yeah. She's
willing to not sound pretty for a moment.
Yes.
To sell the point.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with her when she's doing Fantine's arrest in the. You let your foreman send me away, but you were there. You turned aside.
Oh, goosebumps.
Or the even a whore who has gone to the bed will be had by a rat. And so she spits the word rat at Battement. It's just so great. Like she's just so there's a feist to her, but it's not like I love Lea Salonga, but she was a little bit too strong for my opinion.
Yeah.
As Fantine. There's a little bit too much strength to her. And Fantine needs to play that young woman who is once again, this is 1800s France. Women did not have the agency they have today. Fantine does not have she has agency, but it's a different type of agency. She unfortunately is a female in a man's world. And Ruthie Henshaw captures that struggle of I'm trapped in a situation and I can't get out. I can't beat the system. Lea Salonga is much more of I'm going to beat the system. There's a bit more of that bite to her, which is great for a more modern Fantine, but for a classic Fantine that actually also fits the book description. It always bugs me that in the book Fantine is described as angelic blonde with pearly white teeth, and yet we get these brunette or dirty blonde Fantines. I'm like, we wear wigs, people. It's not like we have to depend on people's hair for this. We can swap the wig, and it's like. Oh, Ruthie Henshaw just looks the part. Like when I picture Fantine in the book, it's Ruthie Henshaw. It's that blonde-haired, angelic-looking woman who falls from grace. Even though we don't see the fall from grace because they don't stage it, you still get in her voice. You get the defeat that grows in her vocals.
Yeah.
So Ruthie Henshaw is Fantine to me. And then for Javert and it's Philip Quast. Like, just watch his masterclass and you'll see how well he knows the text. Like, once again, he's a West End stage actor who does, he does it all. He does opera, he does stage, he does music. And the fact that, like, he's Australian, but you never would know that from the way he sings. His accent is totally non-existent. And he just has the presence of a Javert, where, like, he describes when Javert comes out on stage, it should be like the devil arriving. People should scurry like cockroaches when he shows up. And the way Phil Quast holds himself throughout the whole piece, where he just walks out that baton, as I said, the way he adjusts his microphone in character with a sneer in his voice. It's like, oh, he's just so good. And his breakdown at the end. It's the best looking breakdown of the entire of the suicide. You can see the struggle and the mind work, like as you said. The fact that Phil Quast knows to backphrase, to hit the word dominion properly, because he knows it's not a word you just come up with. It's a word that has to be discovered. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he knows the text enough to know how to do that takes a lot of work and a lot of understanding of both music and text, not just one or the other. So for me, Phil Quast, hands down, is Javert. And that's the reason why he was selected for the complete symphonic recording of the entire show back in the late 90s when they recorded that. And then, obviously, my Valjean is Colm Wilkinson. He is Valjean. The role was written for him. They wrote Bring Him Home because they needed it, because they realized we have no song in Act 2 for Valjean. And they wrote it.
It's funny, you're like, because we needed to give a song to Colm Wilkinson.
Well,
that's what you were going to say.
Colm Wilkinson. No, it's because when they got into Act 2, they realized that you lose Valjean throughout a lot of the barricade sequence. They didn't build him into the story enough, so they went, we need a moment for him. And because they went, well, we have Colm Wilkinson, who has this beautiful controlled falsetto. And he's the one that people emulate. He set the bar for tenors. Since then, I mean, they wrote Music of the Night for Colm Wilkinson to perform. He was supposed to be the original Phantom, but he was doing Lemons at the time, and Kim McIntosh said, "No way am I giving up Colm Wilkinson to go play the Phantom at the end of the opera." Hence why we got Michael Crawford. But like, he just sets the bar for every Valjean afterwards. Every Valjean is trying to meet him vocally. Colm Wilkinson may not be the strongest actor, but that's okay. Because whatever he makes up for with whatever he makes up for sometimes his lack of acting with what he does vocally. Like his phrasing for take an eye for an eye, turn your heart into stone. This is all I have lived for. This is all I have known. The pain and the anger that comes out of that line. It just feels it. And Alfie, I love Alfie, but his voice is a little too operatic for me. That I get pulled from there. Colm, just the little subtle things he does for the character, like just the way his body moves when he sings Bring Him Home, like the way the shoulders and hands move, or the smirk he gives during Who Am I when he does the what's my name until I die? Be no more than an alibi, must I lie? Like the way he just smirks and smiles at the thought of, I can get away with this. No one would know. He has that Irish ambitiousness about him in that performance. And once again, like when they were looking for a Valjean, they wanted someone who had a rock sound to them, somebody who had some of that roughness that you could believe was a prisoner turned angelic man.
Right.
And Colm, who had originally the role of Judas in the Irish production of Jesus Christ Superstar, and had been the test Che for Evita, like he just has that voice and that character. Valjean is him. Like the role was written around Colm Wilkinson, and ergo it just fits him. And then it also could be the fact that I've grown up with Colm Wilkinson. Out of all the Valjeans, it's Colm Wilkinson to me. There's just no comparison. Like there could be like Ramin does a great job. Alfie does a great job in his own right. John Owen Jones, who unfortunately got shafted for the stage concert, even though he did more performances than Alfie and has performed the role longest, it wasn't filmed. But like they all do a great job. But like once again, Colm set the bar, and they've all had to follow his work since. And I just go, you can't beat Colm Wilkinson. Mm-hmm. Jill's like, I disagree.
I do think though, like, Alfie, I think, does his interpretation of the role is the farthest from what Colm Wilkinson's interpretation is. Mm-hmm. And I commend him for that, because I think so often it is like an invasive crutch that actors have or fall into, in like, I have to play this character like this actor who played it, because you know, it's like you sing a song, you sing Defying Gravity, and you're like, well, that didn't sound like Idina Menzel, and you're like, well, I'm not Idina Menzel, like, you know what I mean, like, and it's hard. It's
you
hard
should
to
make
break
your role your own.
Exactly. It's hard to break the original, break away from the original, and I think like Alfie's voice quality being so different from Colm Wilkinson helped him on that journey of breaking from that. Agreed. But still carrying through Jean Valjean's story.
Yes.
But yeah, like what the points you're saying too, like make a whole lot of sense as well.
Yeah. Okay, we're down. Okay, yes. That was a long.
That was
this question. But it was good. I mean, it's nice to break it down and kind of lay ourselves out of who we would want. Okay, so next is, with the current pandemic, many shows in the West End, because the West End's being able to reopen temporarily, have turned to doing these stage concerts. Is this a viable alternative to mounting full musical productions? Jill, what are your thoughts?
I think absolutely. And something that is very fascinating to me, and this came into my head after I had watched, like right after I had finished the stage concert, after binge watching the 3 productions. And I'm doing some Zoom theater right now, right? Like we all live inside electronic boxes, right? And all of our performance lives in our faces, in our believe it or not, chemistry can be tossed through a digital screen. Like, I've seen it way more times. That is just like a wonderful realization. But chemistry in your acting partner, your facial expressions have meant more in your entire acting career than they ever had, because that is the only thing that people really have from here up, right? And so it's this idea of your physicality and fully embodying the character has been stripped away. And so right now, because things are all shut down, all we have is this digital theater, which takes away a full-scale musical. It confines your physicality to a minimalist scope. Your voice, the way you punch things, like, are you accenting the vowels? Are you accenting the consonants? Where are you looking towards? What? These are all qualities that a staged concert has, right? It's the exact same thing in my opinion. And it's funny, like, without this pandemic and totally living inside a computer as a stage, like the Zoom room, the Zoom green room, the Zoom stage, like, there's so many titles to it now. I don't know if I would have fully made that comparison, but I essentially, I do think that is going to be a wonderful segue from this digital space that we've had to create in, to going back to the normal full cast, full audience, no barricade, meaning like plexiglass or awkward distance, right? The normal theater space. There's gonna need some like steps to get us back there, I think. And I think stage concerts are a wonderful avenue for that. I think it's healthy for the audience but more so for the actors. I guess healthy for the audience wouldn't really matter one way or the other, but actually maybe smaller scaled venues, right? Like a stage concert you can do in smaller venues, so therefore gathering less audience members. So there you go. For the actor, I think it's going to be very healthy because you can have the microphones stationed right in what the health protocol is, right? And you know, you don't, the entire performance can be that way. Like there's way you can tweak chemistries and tweak interactions from wherever. And then also I think just like greasing up the gears again. You know, it's, we're going to jump back into the world with so much adrenaline and so much passion and stuff, but it's like, there's going to be rust and cobwebs. And I think by allowing, you know, yourself to breathe and take your own space and just be like, hey, I'm singing this excerpt from this musical in this moment, and this is a wonderful stepping stone for me to go full out 8 nights a week again. You know, it kind of allows, like you said, Mac, like to take it in steps of like exploration a little bit. Like, you can choose to be vocally more present in this moment, even though my taste throughout all of this is like, I don't like when the acting is not paired exactly with the vocals, but there is that accessibility of like, you can choose to just sing this song. You can choose to live in this moment. There's a little bit more artist license in it. So I think that is just like, it's going to be a great, it's also just people who aren't in the industry think that theater is gone forever, right? They think theater, like it was a dying art, it's dead. So I think it's almost like a rebranding in a way. If we pump out more of these staged concerts, it's this like bridging factor, right? It's like, oh, it's kind of something new. It's like, you know, come to a concert and a musical. You haven't been out to an event in ages, so let's get a 2-in-1 deal. Like, so yeah, so that's my answer to that.
Okay. I mean, for me, I went with the thing of, it depends on the show. It's really show dependent on if you can do a staged concert. Because a show like Les Mis or like Parade, where there aren't big dance numbers and it's mainly sung through, and you can't, and this, once again, the book and the score need to be strong enough to stand on their own, you can absolutely do a stage concert. Hence why they've done 3 concerts of Les Mis, because there's the popularity to it, but also the score and the book allow for you to do that type of work. Meanwhile, a show like Phantom of the Opera or Chorus Line, which are much more either spectacle dependent, like Phantom needs the set and it needs the rising chandelier and the boat and the organ and the whatever and the masquerade staircase, or a Chorus Line, you need to be able to move and dance to sell that story. Those shows won't work in this format. So once again, I look forward to when theater gets back, and I'm happy that we're exploring this. I just want to make sure that producers know. There just will be some shows like Cats. You cannot do a stage concert of Cats. The music alone, while gorgeous, does not stay. But you could do a stage concert of Evita. You would just have to reduce like the Point of Sorrow's dance number a little bit and do a little bit of fancy staging choreography for like Perron's Latest Flame. But for the most part, that is a piece you could put actors in front of microphones and it would work. So once again, like, it just depends. The producers has to look at the book and the score and go, which from the canon will support this change of style, because some shows are spectacle and other elements dependent to kind of mask maybe a weaker book and score. Not saying that they're terrible books and scores, but like, you and I both will acknowledge, Phantom's characters, when you strip away some of the spectacle around them, they become very two-dimensional. Raoul and Phantom and Christine are not developed like Fantine or even Cosette are. Like, Christine is leagues behind those two women in the character development thing. I mean, an actor could work on that, but like, it would take a lot of dramaturgy to bring Christine up to that level of development that you would need. So yeah, I would just say once again, it is show dependent. I'm happy to see more of them being done.
Yeah.
Up in Barrie, Talk is Free Theatre has been doing them for over a decade now. Like they started doing that with Anyone Can Whistle, and they've done Kiss Me Kate. They've done Sunday in the Park with George. They've done a number of these stage concerts, and they sell. Because people like to go out and see a piece like this. And even if you are in a reduced production element of, we don't have a flying chandelier, we don't have a flying barricade to come in, you can still not coast, but you can still lean on the score and the music to get yourself through maybe some of those shortfalls that come with this new format. And I would be interested to see like a stage concert via Zoom. Yeah. Like I would love to see something like Company done via Zoom, and just make sure the couples all are people who bubble together or are comfortable enough to go to share a screen, and then you could do something really neat with that. So
it'd be interesting too. Now, kind of opening up this envelope of stage concert potentially being an avenue to access quicker than like a full-scale production for various reasons post-pandemic.
Much more affordable.
Yeah, I would love to see some new works written for staged concerts.
I guarantee we will see Zoom the musical in like 3 years. I guarantee someone is working on a show done in that format of using digital theater in that way.
But I mean, I think...
Because, I mean, this is the form now we're using.
I think
we're using this form now.
It's always been like, it's been a production, and now we're scaling it down to stage concert. It would be interesting to see the seed planted, the original seed planted in a staged concert vibe. So it's almost like, like workshops, for instance, right? Like you see a lot of new musicals are workshopped, and like a lot of time the workshop is like a stage concert, but like to have the piece live as that like workshop entity, right? Like what does it mean to now write a piece for, you see a lot of people now, they're like, we are writing stuff for the Zoom medium, the Zoom platform, and having to dive into that. Now it's like, what does it mean to write originally for a staged concert, right? Like, so that would just be interesting.
Yeah.
New works are built upon that.
Yes, agreed. Okay. Wow, Jill, we are like just over the 2-hour mark.
We're doing better than I thought. It was the
I know.
The draft, the rosters that really threw us under the bus, but that's okay.
That's okay. It's worth it. People will love it.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Jill, is this stage concert musical worth the watch? And if you had the opportunity to fly to the West End and see this live, would you do it?
Okay, well, if I had the opportunity to fly to the West End to see anything live right now, I'd be like, yes. But absolutely. Yeah. I think it just, I mean, I'm kind of biased because I would not turn down any type of ticket to Les Mis, like even if it is like a grade school talent show excerpt. But I think so for sure. And we've touched on a lot of this, but there's just a lot of layers in this one that pack a greater punch. I say this a lot as well, but I love when a piece can add to the subtext a little bit of modern context, or a bit of a message, albeit like political or like personal, just some sort of connection that the audience watching can be like, oh, I understand that, or like, oh, that's going on now, or something like that. And I think that this version does that, and a lot of that is created with the fluidity of movement, the invasion of space, the even like the lighting and sound was a wonderful accessory to the actors on stage. When I think, again, if we're comparing to the other ones, sometimes they overcame a bit of what was happening on stage because they're in those bigger arena spaces. Everything else was accessories to the performers and the musicians. And yeah, it would be definitely worth the watch and worth the ticket. And I think as a story that is as timeless as Les Mis is, the fact that we were blessed with this concert, they filmed that in December of 2019, correct?
Correct.
Right, which is a bit chilling, right? Because things started to kind of turn for the worse pandemic-wise very shortly after that. So
turning.
Yeah. So if that's kind of the last moment we're left with of Les Mis, that's a really good note to put a pin in for now.
Yes. I would say for me to watch, highly recommend watching this. It is easily worth the rent. Cost to go rent this from iTunes or YouTube or wherever you watch this. It's great. It's a fantastic concert. Easily ranks up there. The only two concerts that are available are either the 25th or this one. Easily watch the stage concert anytime. I'll put that on. Gorgeously blocked and shot. Great. Would I pay to see this live? It'd be cast dependent for me. Once again, when you're doing these concerts, a lot of times, they do get the bigger name people to sell the show because they know that it is a reduced production in the sense of you're not getting the barricade or the turntable. You're paying for the people.
Yeah.
You're paying for the cast is what you're paying for. So if I was to go see this live, I would. A lot of the cast that's supposed to be in the West End right now is from this version. They brought back Carrie, Elfie, Michael, Matt, Katie. I think there's a new Marius, Eponine, and Cosette.
Yeah, Sean Echo was on the X Factor, Britain X Factor. So that also is a way of grabbing people into she was a contestant on that show.
Who is in this now? Yeah. So Sean, she is playing Eponine again. Who else do you got in here? Who's playing Cosette now? It's a different Cosette. So there's a few different people in here now. But overall, you're paying for the cast. What I would love to see Alfie perform this role live, just to see him do it. Just to have that chance. So yeah, I would pay for this. Once again, it'd be cast spent. If it wasn't Alfie and it was just people in the West End, when I went and saw the show live in the West End back in 2016, the only name I knew from that entire show was Michael McCarthy, who played Javert, because I knew him from the 10th anniversary. I knew he was the factory foreman. I went, oh, it's him. Okay. But I didn't know who he was playing Javert until I read the program that day.
Right.
Got it. Okay, I know who he is. I couldn't tell you who was my Valjean when I saw it in 2016 or 2006. Couldn't tell you. Didn't make an impression. I remember my Fontaine just because she was it's Joanna Ample, who is another big Kim from Miss Saigon, another fantastic actress from the Philippines like Lea Salonga. Yeah. So she stood out. But they're once again, it's actors who I've now come to know their faces from seeing them appear in these other concerts. But not would I pay to see that cast again from 2006? Not really. I'm okay. I got other casts I would rather see. So it's cast dependent. Yeah. If it was this cast I was going to go see live, absolutely. But overall, it's a great concert. Go out. Jill, how much did it cost you to rent?
$5 on YouTube. $4.99.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. And you can watch the 25th on Broadway HD. And you can watch the 10th on YouTube. Yeah. There's some free versions on YouTube you can watch. It's long enough that you can just go watch it on YouTube. And there's some great copies of it. But overall, Jill, we made it.
We did.
Over the barricade. So before we go, though, Jill, give us your sign off. Where can people find you, follow you, what you're up to?
Righto. So you can follow me on Instagram at my artist account at Jillian Robinson.96. And so I am doing the Zoom theater thing. I'm actually stage managing audio dramas right now, actually. So we're using Zoom as sort of the meeting field for actors to interact with each other, but the sole product is radio plays, audio dramas, fully fledged stereophonics thing. So it's inside of, I've talked about this on some of our other panels, but it's a digital restoration series. So so it's all restoration text and series of audio dramas, a series of Zoom table reads, and I've acted in some of them, and we just started the stratagem project, where in rep we are rehearsing the bow stratagem and the bell stratagem, and I am just the stage manager for that one. So it is a magical, wonderful beast that will take us to the middle of March, from now until the middle of March. So, so that's going to keep my feet wet for the first chunk of 2021. But in the meantime, on my artist platform, which I post singing videos, pictures of my nieces and nephews sometimes, just, whatever inspires during this world we live in right now. So
love that. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Mackenzie Horner. Just look for the ginger-haired photograph. You'll find me. You also can follow my podcast, Before the Downbeat. As of this recording coming out this week, we're releasing our 3rd episode of season 3, which is all about the musical Cabaret. So we talk all about apathy and why throughout history we keep repeating ourselves and keep running into the same issues that were talked about when this musical was first written, and even before the musical was written, the history that the musical is based on, why we keep having these repeated moments throughout history. So we get into all that and so much more. So yeah, Cabaret coming up this Friday. Tune in for that if you're a musical fan. Before the Downbeat on all musical platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor. We do have a YouTube page. I'm updating that this week, so there should be Cabaret should be there. Fingers crossed. We're doing all that, and then keep following Cup of Hemlock. This was our first review of 2021. We have so much more coming. Ryan, our literary manager, are working on a 9-part mini review series that'll be coming out at some point in February, or starting in February. We have other play reviews coming your way, including stuff from National Theatre, Broadway HD, Stratford. We are covering the gambit of streaming platforms. We also have more short scenes coming up for you. We did our first one of Santa Claus and Morality back in December. Ryan has directed several more, and we have one. I know, Jill, you'll be appearing in one of them.
I will be
we won't say which one it is
appearing in one of them. Yeah. Hint. If you're an Ibsen fan, you'll know what that means. Yeah.
Exactly. But yes, stay tuned. We have so much more content coming up in 2021. But until then, everybody, have a great rest of your week. Stay healthy, stay safe, and remember to not steal a loaf of bread, to save your sister's son, and to keep climbing that barricade, because tomorrow comes, everybody. We will weather the storm. Tomorrow comes. Cheers to you. And Jill, thank you for a great first review of 2021.
Thank you so much as well, Mac.
Tomorrow comes.
Much love.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.